Whew. Okay, well, welcome, active adults, to our Eating Healthy at Home, Healthy Holiday Meals. Today, we're going to be cooking two types of recipes. Our first is going to be an apple and sweet potato hash browns, and the second is going to be a cauliflower stuffing. Now, both of these meals are going to provide healthy alternatives to your normal Thanksgiving or holiday smorgasbord of food that you might have on your table, as well as they're going to have all the other types of health benefits. They're going to be excellent for senior citizens. Now, today's meals both chose things that were really good for people suffering from diabetes or working towards preventing diabetes. So we're going to work on going through some of the health benefits of our first recipe, then we'll go through, cook it, and rinse and repeat for the second one. So let me read off some of my notes here that I have and set my phone to do not disturb so I don't get a phone call. All right, so we're going to break down the two main ingredients from our apple and sweet potato hash browns, being apple and sweet potatoes. Now, sweet potatoes are a healthy alternative to normal potatoes. They're a bit better in starch, have a little bit of natural sugar with them. And, oops, that's the wrong one. They are great, sweet potatoes are a great source of fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Just to list off the dietary supplements, or however you want to say it, of what 2 grams or 1 cup of baked sweet potatoes, it's going to give you only 180 calories, 41 grams of carbs, 4 grams of protein, 0.3 grams of fat, 6.6 grams of fiber, 769% of your daily value of vitamin A, which is very good. Vitamin C at 65%, 50% of your daily daily value of manganese, 29% of vitamin B6, 27% of potassium, 18% of pantothenic acid, 16% of copper, and 15% of niacin. The ones, sweet potatoes that are especially orange and purple, are going to be really rich in antioxidants that are going to protect your body from free radicals, which are unstable molecules that can damage DNA and trigger inflammation. Okay, free radical damage has been linked to chronic illnesses such as cancer, heart disease, and aging. Therefore, as senior citizens, it's important to eat antioxidant-rich foods. Sweet potatoes promote gut health. They have cancer-fighting properties. They support healthy vision. They can improve brain function, and they may support your immune system. You can include sweet potatoes any place that you would include normal potatoes. If you're out at maybe a restaurant and you have the option for either sweet potato fries or regular potato fries, and you obviously you can go with the sweet potato route. They are a little bit sweeter, so it's going to be a different taste, but you can add salt and get that good mix of sweet and savory that they bring. All right, and the health benefits of apples right here. Very nutritious, a lot of the apple is water, so it's going to be able to pass through your body really easily. It has a really good sugar amount. It's not going to be the bad sugar that you typically get with high fructose corn syrup or all these unnatural sugars that we have nowadays. So 1 medium apple is going to be 95 calories, 25 grams of carbs, 4 grams of fiber, 14% of your daily intake of vitamin C, 6% of your daily intake of potassium, and 5% of your daily intake of vitamin K. You know, the saying always went is an apple a day keeps the doctors away, because the apple is such a rich source of vitamins for you. Oh, apples are really good for weight loss. They're high in fiber and water, which makes them filling, but at the same time, it passes through your system very quickly, so it's not going to stay inside you. Okay, they're very good for your health. They have been linked to a lower risk of heart disease, and it's because of their soluble fiber, which is going to help lower your blood cholesterol. They're linked to a lower risk of diabetes. Eating an apple is linked to 28% lower risk of type 2 diabetes versus not eating any apples. Okay. And just to break that down a little bit more, is because of the polyphenols in your apple that help prevent tissue damage to beta cells, which produce insulin. And when you have diabetes, you have trouble producing the correct amount of insulin. They have prebiotic effects and they promote good gut bacteria. They have substances that can prevent cancer. They have compounds that can help fight asthma because they are antioxidant rich. Like we were talking about earlier, it's helpful for senior citizens to have antioxidant rich foods. And they're very good for bone health. And last but not least, they can protect against stomach acids, stomach injuries if you find that you're using a lot of NSAIDs, anti-inflammatory drugs. So if you have to take anti-inflammatory drugs for any other illnesses or disease that you suffer from, adding apples into your diet can help prevent and stop some of the negative side effects of taking all those drugs on your stomach. It helps protect your brain, particularly in the apple flesh. So make sure you don't only you eat the whole apple. You can as much as the core if you really want to, but I don't recommend eating the core. But definitely the outside, the skin of the apple is going to have some good vitamins there for you. All right, so let's get started. Let me pull my recipe up here. And today's recipe is from prevention.com, which is just an online resource for helping prevent diseases. It's just prevention.com, and I searched apple and sweet potato hash browns. And it has this, I'll show it on my little picture right here. This is what you're looking for if you're trying to recreate this recipe. Looks like a little bit of ketchup with some hash browns. Now, based on the way that I cooked this before, this is not the way it's going to look. It's a very just misleading picture. It's going to be more of like hash browns that you might get from IHOP rather than home potatoes, which you just saw in the picture there. So this what we have today. Go over our ingredients. So we're going to be using just 1 tablespoon of canola oil, and then an additional 1 teaspoon of canola oil, and then 2 tablespoons of canola oil. We have, it just says 1 large apple. It's recommended you pick one that's a bit more crisper and sour because it's going to want to kind of complement and go against the sweetness of the potatoes. The red apples will likely end up being too mushy and won't stay formed whenever they are in the pan. So you can use Granny Smith. Today I'm using a Golden Delicious. You can use Honeycrisp, all excellent apple choices. We have an onion. So this is, we're going to be using this cup for both of our ingredients today. So this is 2 cups. We're going to just use 1 cup of the onion right there. And we have 3 sweet potatoes. I actually choose such a large sweet potato that I only had to chop 1 1/2. And this one right here, which we have, is our smallest sweet potato of the ones I grabbed. So I went a big overboard when it came to grabbing potatoes. And then we're just going to have a pinch of cinnamon. Okay, so we're going to start off today. We are going to heat 1 teaspoon, just a tiny little bit here. In our pan. Oops. Wash that. All right, so we have it heating up over medium heat. Let it go. I have my pan hot, so it should not take very long. And then we're going to add the apples and the onions. So I'm going to go get my cup. I'm going to start filling up 1 cup of onions. Actually, it asks for 1 onion or about 1 1/2 or a half cup. So we have 1 1/2 cups here. which is 2 medium onions. We're just going to fill up a 1/2 cup onion. Good. Okay. Set that aside. So we're going to put the apples and the onions into the pan. We're going to cook those for about 4 minutes. You're just trying to get them to soften up. We're going to set those aside in a covered bowl, which I'll be right back. I have our covered bowl right here. Oh, let's add the onions here. Spread those around. Good. And we're going to add our apples. Now, we cut the apples into little shoestrings. Okay. So not little chunks. You can see here, large little bits. Mix that around. Make sure you nice and soft. We are at 11:14, so we're going to go till 11:19. Give it just an extra minute, see how it softens up, but we'll just see how it goes once it's in there and cooking. Good. So what are some different recipes that you guys are cooking this year?
Not really doing anything different. We cook traditional. Every single year we do the same recipe. The stuffing is usually where you're going to do the stuffing later, but it's just ground meat and onions and of course the breading. Not healthy.
Well, maybe this year you can choose to be just a little bit less traditional. Maybe if the cauliflower stuffing we cook later on turns out to be suitable for you and looks delicious, then you can include it. Not to say you can't still cook your regular stuffing as well. You know, you don't want to have people throw a fit because you didn't have their food for them. But what's something unique that you think only your family, or something that you guys cook that's not traditional? Nothing at all. Just turkey, stuffing, rolls,
Green beans.
green beans. Yeah.
Here for Thanksgiving, we're doing T-bones.
T-bone. That's
Yes.
nice.
Yes, but I still have to have cornbread stuffing no matter what.
Okay. Warming up. We're about 2 minutes into our 4 minutes cooking this apple. Smush it down a little bit. I'm gonna.
I can't imagine onions and apples. That just gets me.
I think it's gonna be an interesting.
Yes. Yes.
Interestingly, I'm curious to see how to say how sweet it's gonna end up. But I
Yeah.
think even if it is sweet, it's all good sugar. It's not really fried. It's more seared or pan fried without any breading. So that's gonna keep it in the sweeter side. And then we add a pinch of cinnamon at the end. So it's really almost like an appetizer dessert, so to say. So it's interesting. I personally love hash browns, and so I was excited to see if there was an alternative that one day when I get to the point where I can't have, if I if I can't have regular potatoes, which given my diet nowadays, I probably shouldn't have any regular potatoes, then I'll be able to at least bring in this sweet potato and have hash browns still. All right, they're starting to soften up a little bit. I can see some of these shoestrings are starting to bend as I move them around, which is good. Still got another, I'm gonna get in there for another 2 minutes. We're gonna take these and put them off to the side, and then we're gonna start cooking the sweet potatoes. Now I cut the sweet potatoes just like I cut the onions, and that is in a shoestring format. It's chopped it up into little bits and then chopped it really finely into shoestrings as best as I could. Some things are a bit bigger, some things are a bit small, and whenever we put them in the pan in just a moment, we're gonna lay them in nicely so that you get a nice full, kind of checkered little pattern on the bottom instead of just dumping the whole thing in there and then just trying to cook everything on top of that. What ways are you guys cooking your, cooking your turkey this year?
Store-bought.
Store-bought? It's already cooked?
It will be. It's just a turkey breast. Hi, Kirsten.
I finally figured out what was wrong. Thank you. I would a wide vision. If I go to the narrow vision, it worked. So I know
Good.
usually when I make turkey, I do the spatchcocking. I cut out the backbone and then flatten it.
Really?
And it really, because it makes the dark meat crispier on the skin and the dark meat cooks a little faster than it does.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
It's called spatchcocking if you want to look it up.
I will. I
Yeah.
will. That's a thought.
All right. Okay. So we cooked this for just about around 5 minutes. Now we're gonna hopefully not spill any. Good. Get the rest of this onions out of here.
Outside.
Good. Cover that up. And now and some more canola oil, this time using 2 tablespoons. Need a bit more oil for the sweet potatoes. And we're gonna let that heat up there. So as you can see here, I have my sweet potatoes. Some of them are indeed matchstick or shoestring, and some of them are extra wide matchsticks, more flat little wood chunks. And that's just because that I'm not a very good chopper. So
Sweet potatoes are hard to chop.
yes, and yeah, sweet potatoes are not easy. I found it, the knife did not want to go straight down through, especially when they're raw. Maybe if I had boiled them or steamed them a little bit, but then that would defeat the purpose of cooking them here on our pan.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when we cook the sweet potatoes, it's just going to be another 5 to 7 minutes or so until it really gets nice and brown, and then you're going to flip all the sweet potatoes over, and then you'll cook again for another 5 minutes. I'm going to, I see this is already starting to heat up, so I'm going to start laying down my sweet potatoes right here in the oil. Just trying to get a nice flat layer going on, and then I'll add another layer to it.
Johnson.
Is Biscuit getting hungry? Is that why he jumped up there?
He's just being
I wonder if sweet potatoes would be too hard to cut on a mandolin, because then you can make them kind of uniform in the shoestringness.
or a grater.
I know potatoes are okay, but I think sweet potatoes are denser than a regular baked potato.
It might be difficult. I found that sometimes when I was cutting it, it would start to rip off some chunks. So we're gonna stir this around, try to mix that canola oil, and then we're gonna let it lay flat and cook for 5 minutes. Hot again.
Flying out.
So your goal here is to try to get a nice even layer, because after we're done cooking the sweet potatoes, we're gonna add the apples and the onions back on top of here, and then kind of smush them and fold them over together and just form one nice big hash brown patty. Excellent. Now, I didn't use all of my sweet potatoes, just given my skillet size. If you're using it at home, you might cook in an extra large skillet with some raised sides. So likelihood is I'm not going to use the full apple and onion mixture that I cooked earlier. But all the apples fit into the skillet, but not all the potatoes will fit into it in a nice even layer. So I'm going to go wash my hands real quick while that cooks.
Never seen the little button in the upper left-hand corner that says recording. Is that because he's recording?
Yes.
I'm actually recording by accident.
Oh, sorry, he is recording.
He is, okay.
We are recording this. Please don't say anything bad,
No, that's,
Too late.
because I will have to go out later and cut it out. So
we could make it difficult for you.
yes, you could. All right, so this has been cooking for about 3 minutes or so. Let it cook for another 2, and then we're going to flip it. Trying to push down all these into a nice flat layer. Some of them sticking on top of each other. But already I can tell it's already starting to soften up, which is good. Some of the bigger chunks not as soft, but that's just cooking 101. The bigger it is, the longer it's going to take to cook. Starting to see a little bit of brownness coming up. It smells delicious. I have actually been a big proponent lately of trying to only buy sweet potato fries whenever I go out to eat, if there's that option. I find it, especially when you're eating a burger, it's very savory, and I love that mix of sweet and savory when I'm eating. You know, having a sweet cheese with a salty cracker, or sweet potato fries on a burger. Or Wingstop just came out with this new sauce called Asian Zing, which is a sweet and savory but spicy as well for their wings. Very delicious. It reminds me a lot of the one of the sauces from the cafeteria at H Mart. They have a Korean fried chicken, and really spicy but really good fried chicken sauce that's both sweet and savory there. Okay, good. So we're going to start flipping now. So as best as you can, try to flip it over, try to keep all the brown spots on top. Ugh. As best as you can. If you saw what I was doing, it's probably not the best. Okay. Well, majority flipped over. Starting to see a little bit of brown come out, which is good. Oh, all right, so we got 5 more minutes to cook for that. And then we're going to put the apples and onion mixture right on top, sprinkle it with cinnamon, cover it up, and let it cook for just a little bit longer. Smash it all down together, and then it'll be ready to serve. It's not going to be as crispy as you might have your regular hash browns, but it's going to be a lot more healthier for you. I'm going to go get a cover for this, and we'll continue on. So while I'm waiting here, I'll talk a little bit about our equipment. So we have moved from propane or butane camping stoves to just a hot plate. I don't know, Esmeralda was there in our last class, and the butane did not last the whole class. So thought, let's just go with an electric way, a bit easier for your cooking. For our cookware, we have a enamel covered, so still non-stick, but it's not going to be that traditional gray non-stick, because those things, if you scratch them off, and as they become more and more used, the coating they use in that is very cancerous, so we don't want to include that into our cooking. So we just have enamel here. It's a lot more safer if it does have to scratch and get into your cooking, as well as it's a lot easier to clean because things don't stick to it as well. You can really wipe it down as soon as you're done cooking, and then everything will be just kind of wiped right off, and then you can put it into the dishwasher, or just wash it in the sink, and it'll be good as new. Okay. So I'm just flipping it a bit more, trying to get those last little bits that weren't brown to brown up. Yeah, nice and soft now. Okay, so we're gonna take our apple and onion mixture, and I'm just gonna nicely throw it right there on top.
I keep trying to listen for a sizzle. I'm sure you're hearing a sizzle.
Yeah, my microphone is sitting down, so it's angled directly at me. I don't know how well my voice is coming off, but I think it's
perfect.
Is it good? Can y'all hear me clearly?
Yes, and yeah.
I can bring this down.
Keep
You-
trying to listen. No, not quite.
Wow.
Good thing you don't have a dog.
So you don't mix them together, you just put them in.
Yes, you're just trying to smush it down because the sweet potato is going to form that bottom layer and the apple is going to be there on top. And I'm actually kind of trying to smush them down into one layer because the apples are soft and the top layer of the sweet potato is a bit soft, but it still has the little bit that we fried on it. So I'm trying to kind of like smash it into one nice layer of hash browns. That way when you can cut it and serve it to your family. If you want it to be a bit more crispier, I'd recommend using a bit more oil, as well as adding some oil just before you put the apples in, so that it's going to help crisp up some of that oil as well, or some of that apple.
Beep.
What it looks like,
Oh, I see.
nice and smashed. It's different, okay? Not what you typically think of your hash browns, but it's going to be really healthy and really good. Now, I forgot, last finishing touch,
Cinnamon.
cinnamon. It asks for a pinch of cinnamon. We're just going to pinch, not lightly dust the whole thing, but I love cinnamon, so I'm going to add 2 pinches. And then I'm just going to put whatever left was in my hand.
There you go.
That's how you real chefs do it. Just like that. And it's done. So we're going to set it aside now. Okay. And we're going to continue on now to our next meal, which is cauliflower stuffing. Now this one's going to take a significantly longer time than the previous one. We'll have opportunities in the middle while it's cooking for me to go over some of the health benefits. So I'm going to save those. I'm not going to start off with them right now. And we're going to start with our first little bit, and that is to melt our butter, which is in the fridge. So I'll be right back again.
I wonder if we get real butter or not butter. Don't you wish you could smell?
Yes, smell-o-vision.
Yes, wouldn't it be nice?
Good. So I used salted sweet cream butter.
Real butter.
So real butter. And when you're cooking, you actually always want to use real butter. And vegetable oil and the stuff that says, oh, I can't believe it's not butter, isn't as healthy for your body because it's almost like it follows the same rules as sweet and low sweetener, where it's tricking your body into thinking that you're not actually ingesting what you're ingesting. So you put the vegetable oil spread on your butter, and you might think it's butter. Your body might process it as butter, but it's not going to process the same way. Same with your sweet and low. You have that. It is still some kind of sweetener. It's still adding some sugars to your body, but then your body's not processing it the same way. It doesn't think, oh, we have this excess of sugar. now we have to process it out. It doesn't think it had that. So always important, use real ingredients, not the fake alternatives. Okay, we're having our pan at medium high. We're gonna melt our butter. We're using 4 tablespoons of butter.
Half a stick.
Half a stick of butter. Let it just sit there and melt. And I'm not going to chop it up because it will give me an opportunity to go over everything else we have on our ingredients list. So we have 4 tablespoons of butter, one onion chopped, okay, 2 large carrots, and 2 celery stalks. So right here, chopped as well. 1 small head of cauliflower, right here, chopped. Now I chopped and then also just, I chopped about half of the small head of cauliflower to get really tiny bits. And then for the rest of it, I just broke up the florets by hand, just trying to get them to small little chunks, about this size, you know, much smaller than what you would have for if you like kind of broke apart a piece of broccoli. Okay, and then we have 1 8-ounce container of baby Bella mushrooms. This one was sliced, so I chopped it as well. Okay, we have salt. I just used sea salt, black pepper. They were all out of well, they weren't all out of parsley, but I didn't want to buy a whole thing of fresh parsley and then have to not use it. So I just got parsley flakes. I got rosemary leaves, which they were completely out of fresh rosemary. And I was able to find some sage. And so for parsley, you're going to use 1/4 cup. And for the rosemary, it's going to be 2 tablespoons. And for the sage, we're going to have 1 tablespoon of chopped sage. Okay. And then we have low sodium chicken broth, in which of this we're going to be using 1/2 cup of chicken broth. So our butter's almost melted, almost completely gone. You can see there. I don't know if you can actually see it. It's hard to see given the lighting in here and the fact that the butter is the same color as the pan. So that itself is going to be some difficulties. Good. All right. So that's nice and melted. So first up, we're going to add our onions, carrots, celery, and we're going to saute them until they are soft. Let's put our ingredients up to the side. So I have our carrots and celery. And 1 whole onion. This is about 2 onions. I'll take half of what I got here. Good. Now we're just going to mix this around. Make sure you get that butter all in up everything. And then push it down. And we have about 10 minutes now for this to cook. Well, it's a 7 to 8 likelihood, given that we're just here on a hot plate, probably going to be about 10 minutes. And while we're sitting here, we're going to go over the health benefits of carrots, celery, and onions. Let's start. Now, for a lot of the research I did, I found all these information on healthline.com. That's HEALTHLINE.com. Excellent place. You can look through all their nutritions if you're suffering from a certain illness and you're looking for just foods or healthy alternatives for that illness. This is a great place to look at. So for 2 small to medium raw carrots, you're going to get 41 calories, 88% water, 0.9 grams of protein, 9.6 grams of carbs, 4.6 grams of sugar, 2.8 grams of fiber, and 0.2 grams of fat. Now, Carrots are majority going to be water and carbs. That's the biggest chunk of them. And they have starches and sugars, which are going to be a good source of fiber for you as well. And it's going to be, it's actually ranks pretty low on the glycemic index, which measures how quickly foods raise your blood sugar after a meal. So that means you're really not going to have a big rise in blood sugar, which can be good for those who are looking to monitor their health for diabetes. Now, has a lot of soluble fibers, which helps reduce your cholesterol. It has vitamins A, biotin, which is great for your hair, vitamin K, potassium, and vitamin B6, all excellent sources of vitamins for you. It's going to include as well a powerful antioxidant in the form of carotenoids. Carotenoids. Now, antioxidants, as we mentioned earlier when we were cooking the hash browns and the apples, are really great ways to help break down the free radicals that lead to many chronic diseases, heart health or heart disease, as well as diabetes and other things that a lot of senior citizens suffer from. So some of the plant compounds that you're going to find here in carrots are going to be beta carotene, alpha carotene, lutein, lycopene, polyacetynes, and anthocyanins, all of which are excellent compounds that are antioxidants that are going to really help fight those free radicals and the chronic diseases in your body. Now, celery, another excellent source of benefit to your health for your body. It, just like many things that we choose today, is rich in antioxidants. Celery has been linked to reduce inflammation, which can help those seniors suffering from arthritis. Celery supports digestion. Okay, the pectin in the celery is going to decrease stomach ulcers, as well as improve the lining of your stomachs. It is rich in vitamin with a low glycemic index. It's going to have an excellent food that's not going to raise your blood sugar whenever you're including it in your food. And it has an alkalizing effect, which is going to neutralize acidic foods. Okay, so alkaline and acidic, this is going to help reduce your, oops, sorry about that, got a phone call. It's going to help reduce the acid, so it's great to throw in with anything that might be really acidic, lemon, citrus in general, tomatoes. So, and last up is this nice, starting to get a bit soft. Now, you're not aiming when you're cooking the celery, the onions, and the carrots to get them completely soft. You're just going to soften them up because they're still going to sit in here for the rest of the meal. And you're just going to slowly add more and more, and it's going to become more and more tender as it gets along. Okay, so last but not least, we're going to go over the health benefits of onions. So your onion is going to be packed with nutrients. It's a nutrient-dense food. When we had our last cooking class, another nutrient-dense food that we had was pumpkin. It's really packed in a lot of nutrients, but at the same time, a lot of water, which is just going to mean that as your body filters out the water, you're just left with the helpful nutrients. You're going to have a lot of just 44 calories. It's going to be high in vitamin C, high in vitamin B6 and B9, as well as a great source for potassium. The average intake for an American's potassium is just half of the daily value. So it's important that you're really pushing out those foods that are going to help you reach that daily value intake for potassium. It includes lots of antioxidants that are going to help fight inflammation and reduce heart health or benefit heart health, reduce heart disease. Particularly inside the onion is a compound called quercetin, which is Quercetin. It is an antioxidant that is highly concentrated in onions, And a study found that 70 overweight people with high blood pressure found that a dose of at least 162 milligrams of quercetin-rich onions extract significantly reduced their blood pressure compared to a placebo. It means it's important to really include onions in your diet at least once per day, and that's going to help reduce your blood pressure. Loaded with antioxidants, you're going to have 25 different varieties of antioxidants found in just one medium onion. A study of 50,000 men showed that as long as you take in at least 600 milligrams of anthocyanins, which is an antioxidant found inside onions, you have a 14% chance to suffer a reduced risk for a non-fatal heart attack. And in a study for 100,000 women, they found they were actually 32% less likely to experience a heart attack. So onions very helpful for a heart healthy diet. It contains cancer-fighting compounds such as allium. I'm sorry, not allium. Cancer-fighting compounds such as onion A. So inside onions, there is onion A. It helps control blood sugar. It helps boost bone density, and it has antibacterial properties. It boosts digestive health. And last but not least, it is extremely easy to add to your diet, as onions are found in a significant amount of meals. Okay, so is it starting to get a bit soft now, which is good. So now we're going to move on to the next step in the ingredient, which is going to be adding the cauliflower. Kind of smush this out, make sure you can get as much of it as you can get down. You want to be stirring it occasionally just to mix it up to make sure that whatever's sitting on top is going to be pushed down to the bottom, closer to the heat and closer to getting softer. Oh, go back here to my ingredients. All right, so we are going to add our cauliflower and our mushrooms. So we're going to toss in our mushrooms here. Okay, and we're going to toss in our cauliflower. I'm going to avoid adding it all so I don't overflow my pan here. Smush this in there and start to mix. So now we're going to cook this for another 8 to 10 minutes just to soften up the mushrooms. And then our final thing is we're going to pour the broth. We're going to pour in the parsley, the rosemary, the sage, and then we're going to just cook it until all that broth ends up being absorbed by the vegetables that we have here. So that's just going to help soften everything up. So now we're just nice and mixing it in. Doing our best not to create such a big mess at the library.
Excuse me.
It's a good thing I'm cooking this not at home because my wife does not like the smell of mushrooms. So she would not be happy with this meal as it is almost half mushroom. All right, excellent. So that's nice and stirred around. Now I'm gonna cover it, help cook what's there on top. Increase the heat a little bit. You should be on medium-high heat. And we have 10 more minutes. So at about 12 o'clock, we're gonna check this, see how it's looking. In the meantime, let's bring over our apple and hash browns. Get a little spoon and let's see how it tastes. Oh, wow. It's more, it's more savory than I expected. I thought that the apple would kind of completely overpower the dish, just because it's so sweet, and as we cook the apple, the juices from it are going to kind of come out and mix with the sweet potato. But it does a really good job. Really can't taste all the onions. Now, having cooked this the healthy way, if I were to cook a bit more less healthy, trying to get it closer to what you'd expect to be in a regular hash browns, when you think of hash browns, I probably would have added a little bit more oil, just to kind of crisp it up more. As well as when I added that apple, I would have poured some more oil on there, and that would have really helped crisp it and bring them all together in. But otherwise than that, really great meal. I'm definitely going to be serving it this Thanksgiving as just an alternative to just an extra side dish to have there with our meal. So I'm going to salt and pepper. It says salt and pepper to taste. And you use how much you like to use. I like to just do one big circle on the meal, make sure I get a nice little even coat right across, and then we're going to mix it on in. Now, this is definitely the more interesting meal that, because I typically have just stuffing from the box. My mother has always cooked. When we cook stuffing, it's just McCormick's box, throwing the ingredients that it asks for, and it's always been the same thing for our whole life. So this will be an interesting way now. This is a good way to have a gluten-free stuffing because there's no gluten at all in this meal. The cauliflower takes the space or the place of the bread in this meal, similar to cauliflower pizza or cauliflower tacos. This is a good alternative for those who are suffering or having to have a gluten-free diet, or just looking in general to have more of a starch-free, or not starch-free, but just a healthier option. If you use vegetable stock instead of chicken stock, it's more vegetarian for you. I guess technically it's still vegetarian when you're using. That's a good question. Now, would it be vegetarian if you use chicken stock? There's not actually any meat in it.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's chicken in that.
There is chicken in this?
Yeah.
It's
Usually it's a bone broth.
it just says it uses chicken powder and chicken stock. So yeah, so there's little point. So you can use vegetable stock, and if you happen to have the extra ingredients of the ingredients that we've thrown into the cauliflower, you could have actually made the vegetable stock from the ingredients. If you had put the celery, onion, mushroom, carrots, cauliflower, put it in there, boil it. That's a good way to just kind of use everything that you have there in the kitchen. All right, so this is starting to really soften up. Carrots are nice and soft. Okay, we have about 5 more minutes for cooking on that. I'm gonna start picking up my mess here.
So when do you add the broth?
So after we cook the cauliflower and the mushrooms for 10 minutes, then we're going to add the broth, and you're just going to cook that until all the juices, the liquid has been absorbed by the meal. We are currently at 6 minutes in since we added the cauliflower and mushrooms. So we have about 4 more minutes, but it's just you're gauging it until it is soft. If you like your pasta more al dente, you might like your stuffing a bit more, not as mushy. So you might not have to cook it as long, but we're aiming for just trying to get 10 minutes with the carrots, celery, and onions. Then we had 10 minutes with the cauliflower and mushrooms, and then we're going to have another. It says roughly 10 minutes, just depending on how your heat and how much ingredients you added. It could be a little bit less or a little bit more. Whew. It's a shame that you guys aren't able to join us, because now I have all this food that I'm going to have to eat all alone.
We can't do a drive-by?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I can be there in 5 minutes.
If you
Leave little plates out on the curb.
Yeah, if you bring a container and bring it and just set it outside the door, then I can fill it up for you, no problem at all. There's no contact there.
The little elf. Corey the elf.
Woo.
Steamy.
Definitely steaming for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No overhead fan.
Making sure there's no fire detector or something to detect the heat. Although I'm pretty sure we're fine here. We had last year's pancake and PJs, and I spent the whole morning in the kitchen cooking sausage and never had an issue there. So I think this will be more than fine. Because I have the fans going on here, so it's helping circulate air and spread the heat around.
This dressing really does sound good. The mirepoix and the mushrooms and cauliflower really do sound good.
Oh, it smells amazing.
I bet.
And my father-in-law loves cauliflower. We use it in a lot of cooking. He makes a lot of soup where he puts cauliflower in and then just blends it in, so it just kind of it just breaks apart and gets little tiny. It just breaks apart to the very tiny little bits of the florets. But he actually loves to eat it raw, and he'll make a sauce with it out of ketchup, mayonnaise, Worcester sauce, and whiskey. And he mixes it all together, and it's really good to eat. To eat raw. It's a nice alternative to eating. To just dipping it in ranch or dipping it in some like chipotle sauce. It's a good recipe for there. I'll try to find the recipe for that and share that with the group. So I have a question regarding, the virtualness of our programming now. And did you guys find it difficult at all to join into the Zoom meeting?
I know on other meetings that I have joined, I have clicked on the link you send and this one I had to copy and paste because I have that underline.
It's underlined, and that's why it won't work?
It didn't go in blue or whatever it normally, in my email, it didn't. So I pasted it, and I've never had a problem with the video before, but I finally figured that out. Right.
Okay. Yeah. And just as a reminder, whenever you join any of our active adult virtual classes, you're always going to be muted when you first get in. So just be sure that you're aware of that. When you get in, if you start waving and start talking, unmute yourself. I thought I could unmute everybody, but it's proving a bit more difficult. It doesn't seem to go through really quickly, and it seems to be something that the user has to do themselves. So I think I can mute you, but I don't think I can unmute you.
And for me, Corey, there was no issue using Zoom because Zoom, we used to use Zoom a lot, so it's on my computer. It just kind of naturally, it just opens up when I did click the link.
That's good. That's good. I'll make sure
Like to,
whenever I continue doing this every weekend, that I'll start adding the links into hyperlinks just to make sure that it works correctly.
That would,
Because and it could be that when I add the period to the end of the link, that it thinks it's part of the link, and that causes a big issue to it as well. All right, so this looks nice and soft. Mushrooms have really gone down. The cauliflower a little bit hard, but it's softer than it was when we started, that's for sure. And the cauliflower will be a bit more tougher than everything else, just naturally given how it is. So we are
did you
going to
use the florets and the stems, or you stayed away from more of the stem?
I chopped off a lot of the stems, but there are still some stems in here. For when I chopped it really tiny and really fine, I kind of shaved the outside. So I just kind of cut it around and it just fell apart that way. And then for the rest of it, I ripped it apart by hand. And so it's going to have just little tiny bits of stem, maybe this long or so on all of them. It's not going to be like what you would see in a broccoli that you would get in a restaurant where
The
you're going to
frozen
have
broccoli, yeah.
the stem. No, I cut out all of that much at least. And so it's really, really just looking for that florets because it's going to help it stay soft. So we're going to add this.
You have to pull the ring if you're first opening it.
It did not have a ring, but it had a different.
Or stick something down in it if you can't. It usually is like a foil or a saran wrap kind of
Yeah,
cover.
there's a little, the foil just fell inside, so we're going to hope that it didn't come out. It's not going to come out later. All right.
Yeah, put it in the cup first, in that way, yeah. You'll see it.
Let's see, we're going to get 1/2 cup of low sodium chicken stock. Okay. And we're going to pour this over. Good, all right.
Sizzle?
I don't hear, it's a low boil right now.
Oh, okay, it sounded like.
You might be hearing something.
is it your stomach?
It could be. Talk about food enough, we'll start grumbling.
That's for sure.
I'm doing chicken salad for lunch, so I have to wait.
Okay, so I'm just mashing this down, trying to get as close to all that liquid as I can, and then we're gonna top it off, help steam it, help allow the vegetables to absorb some of the liquid, and then we're gonna uncover it and then allow the rest of the liquid to kind of disappear, whatever wasn't being absorbed very quickly. And it's already looking really good comparative to the picture that I see online, so that's good. Gonna go back to eating some more over here.
Just like yeah.
Another thing that you might want to do when you're cooking the apple and hash browns is maybe add a little bit of salt when you just have the sweet potato there to just kind of accentuate their savoriness. That way the whole meal isn't so sweet. You don't really want to add the salt onto the apple, just in the sweet potato.
It's obviously good. You're eating.
It is very good. Okay, so we add the vegetable stock. Almost forgot. You also going to add fresh
The
sage.
spices.
Okay. Then we have a lot of parsley.
Parsley, sage.
Yeah, it asks for 1/4 cup of parsley.
Ooh,
So I'm actually gonna take the top off of this.
yeah.
This is
4 ounces.
0.25 ounces, which looks like it There we go.
And fresh is usually about twice as much as dried, so.
Yes. So I didn't have the full 1/4 cup, that's for sure. And then we have rosemary, and this is going to be just 2 tablespoons. So I'll just fill up this, and we're going to put 1.5, just like that. And then we are going to mix this around. Really get that parsley, get that sage, the rosemary all over everything. Whoops. I'm looking at it right now. It looks, we got majority of the liquid gone. I can still see some bubbling up at the bottom whenever you push stuff out of the way. So we're gonna let it keep cooking for just a little bit longer. Whew. It smells really good. That the sage, that rosemary, the thyme, parsley adds that nice aroma to it. Let me see if I can switch my, there we go. And this is what it looks like. Nice and colorful.
Ooh. That almost does look like an herb dressing.
And here's my, whatever's left of the sweet potatoes. Small little bits there.
I'm going to try that.
One thing that I think in December, I think I might, if I'm at home for my cooking class, I think I might try to show you guys how to make stuffed artichoke. Has anybody made stuffed artichoke before?
No, but I love to eat it. So yes, please do that.
My grandmother would make stuffed artichoke every holiday meal.
Mm.
And it has been the one thing that I have missed the most of our holiday gatherings, besides her, since she passed away, was just having that beautiful, she would make 2 pans of it.
Ooh.
Because everybody in my family would just eat one whole one on their own. And you think artichoke, they're pretty big, but you don't eat the whole thing. You just take off the side and you eat the little the
Soft part of the petal.
the soft part inside, and then she would stuff it with breadcrumbs and like a little mixture of, might have olives or some other herbs and vegetables to kind of add some more flavor to it. And that's really what you're eating there. It's going to be that soft part of the artichoke and then that stuffing that's going to be right there on top. You can use regular stuffing when you do the artichokes. You could even use something like this where you're stuffing this inside there and providing more of a fresh garden variety artichoke or stuffed artichoke.
Well, I hope you find her recipe. That would be a good one.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, good. The cauliflower is nice and soft now. I can just press on it and it's just falling apart. It has a little bit of resistance, which is good. You don't want it to be completely mush. Let's see how the carrots are. Same thing, a little bit of resistance, and then once you really press into them, they just kind of give away, which is exactly what you're looking for, because you don't want to be eating just mush. It's not the kind of texture that you want to serve. You want to have some sort of texture in your meal. And all the vegetable, all the juice is gone. It's all been absorbed into the vegetables. So and that's it. So that was our class today. Now, before I leave you guys, making sure I don't start a fire, I'm going to go over the recipes one more time. So for our first meal, we had our apple and sweet potato hash browns. We used 1 teaspoon plus 2 tablespoons of canola oil, 1 large apple. It's recommended to have more of the crisper apple so that it stays formed whenever you cook it. A Granny Smith, Golden Delicious, Honey Crisp, all excellent choices. 1 onion, chopped or thinly sliced. If you thinly slice it, it kind of just adds to the mixture of the hash browns. I used chopped, which kind of just had it really small and more spread out. 3 sweet potatoes. I do recommend that if you just choose a really big sweet potato, that you don't have to use maybe just 1.5. The sweet potato I picked today, this is the smallest of the bunch, quite big, about as big as my hand. And I only had to use, and the larger one, I had to use just 1 of those and half of another one of these. And then a pinch of ground cinnamon. I used about 3 pinches, and it tasted delicious. So that recipe will yield 8 servings. It takes roughly 15 minutes to cook and about 15-minute prep time. So you're looking at about 30 minutes for this to be from start to finish. And then we had our cauliflower stuffing. For the cauliflower stuffing, we used 4 tablespoons of butter, 1 onion chopped, 2 large carrots peeled and chopped, 2 celery stalks chopped or thinly sliced. We chose chopped. 1 small head of cauliflower, 1 cup or an 8-ounce package of baby Bella mushrooms, salt, pepper, 1/4 cup of freshly chopped parsley, 2 tablespoons of freshly chopped rosemary, and 1 tablespoon of freshly chopped sage, and then 1/2 cup of low sodium chicken or vegetable stock. Now that yields 6 servings. It takes about 15 minutes to prep and 40 minutes to cook. So you're looking at just under 1 hour for you to be able to cook this meal. Combined, you have 1.5 hours for that, or if you're able to efficiently multitask, it only takes about 1 hour for both meals to be done.
How much of the broth again? I forgot.
1/2 cup.
A quarter to a half.
Yes. And I will be sending out the recipe as well to the senior group, so you'll be able to have that, and I will include it in the description of this video whenever we upload it. So
Yeah, take a picture and add if you can.
Snapshot picture, yeah.
Yeah.
So Corey, for the next class, what do you think about a cook-along? Because if you tell us what all the ingredients are, especially the, this would be, a serving for 8. It's probably too much. We wouldn't
Right.
want to do it now. But if it's just going to be an artichoke, or I could do 3 or 4 artichokes.
Yeah.
Tell us a recipe, then we could cook it along, and then
Even if we had to blanch something first, just let us know.
right.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think that'd be excellent, especially since we're not, the class was originally supposed to be people sitting there watching, but now that we're virtual, everyone has access to their own, kitchen.
Right.
So I think that'd be a great idea. So yeah, I'll definitely, I'll make sure to send out the ingredients and the recipe of what we're going to be cooking beforehand, and allow more people to kind of just follow along as we're cooking. So yeah, I think that's an excellent.
Whoever wants to cook is fine. Whoever just wants to watch, and then you can watch us eat.
Instead of you guys watching me eat, right?
Yeah.
Is there a way to also do this via Facebook Live if other people wanted to get on through the Facebook page?
Unfortunately, we won't be doing anything on Facebook Live just because for security reasons, we want to make sure that whoever joins, we're aware of who it is, and
Okay.
if anything bad happens, then at least it's only contained to this rather than being posted on live.
Gotcha. Okay.
Plus, in my first experience of cooking live, people weren't too happy that I took an hour and a half to cook everything because I didn't chop it beforehand. So,
But the link, once it's recorded, if you save it, it could be posted.
yes,
Okay.
we will be. Oh, that's so good.
I bet you love it.
That's really good. I'm a big proponent of meat. I love meat and everything. This is really good. Now, if I were to add more to this, maybe some chicken, just lightly seared with salt and pepper chicken to toss into that, make it a full meal right there. And that could, you could put this you can almost make this a pasta dish as well. It is stuffing, but it almost just falls into a whole new category. It was
Like a casserole of its own.
Like a
kind of thing.
casserole, exactly.
Yeah.
That's-
Oh yeah. If you were to
Yeah.
put this, put some chicken on the bottom, put some cheese, pour this over top, bake it. Oh,
I could see some pancetta in there too, maybe.
that
or
would be
something.
so good. Okay. Well, thank
Awesome.
you so much for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed our cooking and that you learned something new and something to include in your holiday meals. Thank you. I'm Corey. I work for the City of Leander Parks and Recreation Department, running the Active Adults program. If you'd like more information about our Active Adults program, please feel free to go online to leandertx.gov/AAP, where we're going to have all sorts of information regarding the programs that we have, as well as how to sign up for membership through our online registration website. Until next time, have a great day.
Bon appetit.
I'm gonna go and stop the recording, and